The early years of the Hispano Suiza brand were quite rocky. See this video to find out more about why this was the case, and to learn how they developed after that. It began in 1898 when a Spanish artillery captain named Emilio de Quadra started electric automobile manufacturing in Barcelona under the name of La Quadra. He met Swiss engineer Marc Burkert in Paris and hired him to work for his company in Spain. This led to the production of two types of gasoline engine powered La Quadra cars. One was the 4.5 HP single cylinder and the other was the 1.1 litre 7.5 HP two-cylinder. These were made in 1900, but only two vehicles were completed, with a few more still under construction when, in 1902, the ownership of the company changed hands. The new owner, Jose Maria Castro Fernandez, turned it into Fábrica Hispano Suiza de Automobiles. This company did not last long and went bankrupt in 1903. This led to yet another restructuring in 1904, considered by most to be the true start of the company. The two entrepreneurs, Damien Mateo Biza and Francisco CX Zea, together with Marc Burkert, created the new company, La Hispano Suiza Fábrica de Automobiles. In the next year and a half, 4 new engines were released. They were a 3.8 litre and a 7.4 litre 4-cylinder engine, and 2 big 6-cylinder engines. This new company managed to survive, and still had its base of operations in Barcelona up until 1946. They now produced cars, buses, trucks, aero engines and weapons. By now they also had factories at Ripoll, Seville and Guadalajara. The marque had success in races in, among other countries, France, and soon the French market for their luxury cars outgrew the Spanish market. Because of this, the company started an assembly plant called Hispano France in the Paris suburbs of Levallois-Perret in 1911. Production was moved to a larger facility at the Bois-Colombes suburbs of Paris under the name Hispano Suiza in 1914. This soon became Hispano Suiza's main plant for their largest and most expensive models. During World War I, Hispano Suiza turned its attention to designing and producing aircraft engines. During this period, they came up with several new features for the aviation industry that was way ahead of their competition. One example of this was the use of a hollow propeller shaft that could accommodate the firing of heavy caliber machine guns through the prop shaft. This meant that they didn't have to shoot through the propeller's arc using a synchronization gear. Their Aero engines became the most widely used Aero engines in both the French and British Air Force. After World War I, their focus was back to producing automobiles. In 1919, they introduced the Hispano Suiza H6, which featured an inline 6-cylinder overhead camshaft engine derived from their World War I aircraft engines. This model was clad in the fanciest bodyworks by several renowned coach builders. There became a great demand for licenses for Hispano Suiza patents from other luxury car makers. Even Rolls-Royce used several of Hispano Suiza's patents, for instance, their power brakes. In 1923, a French branch of Hispano Suiza was incorporated as the Société Française Hispano Suiza. The Spanish parent company retained control with a majority of shares. This French branch soon developed into the most important luxury vehicle manufacturer, more so than the parent company itself. In fact, the Spanish part of the company soon became more occupied with building the cheaper models, and also moved increasingly into the production of trucks, buses, and aircraft engines. The Bois-Colombes plant near Paris became Hispano Suiza's premier luxury car plant. In 1925, Hispano Suiza became represented in Argentina through a man named Carlos Ballester. The Spanish Civil War broke out in 1936, and the government collectivized control of the company's Spanish factories and geared them towards war efforts. The company was divided into 3 sections, namely aircraft engines and cannons, cars and trucks, and machine tools. Spain was isolated internationally because of the war, and because of this the Spanish factories of Hispano Suiza suffered from shortages. the French government took control of the French branch of the company in 1937, and in 1938 they ceased automobile production to focus on aircraft engine production. It was around this time they introduced a 12-wire engine that was soon in great demand for most types of French aircrafts. However, without the help of the Spanish factories, Hispano Suiza did not have the capacity to deliver sufficient engines to the growing French Air Force. This, in turn, meant that many new French fighter aircraft were grounded for lack of an engine at the outbreak of World War II. In 1940, Hispano Suiza and other Spanish industrial companies, together with the Spanish bank Banco Urquijo, founded the Sociedad Ibérica de Automóviles de Turismo, or SAIT. This later led to Spain's first mass production car maker, SEAT. After both the Spanish Civil War and World War II, Hispano Suiza was severely affected by the broken economy and trade embargoes by the Allies. So much so that in 1946 they sold off their Spanish automobile assets to ENASA, a state-owned company that belonged to the Institución Nacional de Industria, part of Franco's civil and industrial control regime. After World War II, the French brand of Hispano Suiza carried on primarily as an independent aerospace company, with more and more attention to turbine manufacturing. In 1968, the company was taken over and became a division of the Snecma Aerospace Company. The turbine operation was moved to a new factory in Bezons outside Paris in 1999. In 2005, Snecma merged with the Sagem Electronics Company to form Safran, a defence and aerospace company. The automotive part of the company had an attempted revival in 2000, with a two-seater luxury supercar prototype, the HS21, revealed at the Geneva Motor Show. This repeated itself in 2010, with the showing of another model, also at the Geneva Motor Show. However, the planned production of these ventures never came to fruition. As late as 2019, there was another attempt at revival of the automotive brand of Hispano Suiza. This time an all-electric sports car named Carmen, and later a souped-up version of this called the Carmen Boulogne, both featuring 1,000 plus horsepower. The design of these models is influenced by the spectacular 1938 Hispano Suiza Xenion de Bonnet. How this venture will fare, and what the future holds for this luxury brand, remains to be seen. As for us, we hope they are back to stay this time.